No wonder I feel that that's something I forgot to do. Okay, that is the autonomic nervous system. I almost forgot uh to tell you about. Okay. Um, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Okay, your remember your CNS consists of your brain and spinal cord. What about your PNS, your peripheral nervous system? Your peripheral nervous system consists of also two things, your somatic nervous system and your autonomic nervous system. Okay, and then your somatic nervous system basically consists of two parts, sensory and motor. Sensory, we already covered most of the sensory. Remember this, we talk about proprioception, most importantly, the special senses. We talk about vision, audition, gustation, and olfaction. We also talk about a balance or equilibrium, okay, from your inner ear, the vestibule. So we talk about the sensory part. What about the somatic? Well, the motor part is the one that we cover in the motor physiology. Okay, we cover in the motor physiology about the reflexes or the the motor control from your lowest level, the middle level, and upper level. Including your conscious or voluntary movement. For example, in your highest level, we talk about the supplementary motor cortex. Okay, it forms your intention to trigger movement. Okay, so autonomic nervous system is something that we have not talked about. It also involves the sensory part. Uh, uh, it also has sensory and motor basically. Okay, sensory part basically you have receptor to sense the changes inside your body. Maybe the stretching of your blood vessels. Um, It also has the motor part. The motor part innervate smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and also glands. Okay, you have glands. My video blocked the slides. I apologize. I should shrink the slides. So let's take a look at the comparison between somatic and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system is very simple. You have one motor neuron, and the motor neuron is myelinated. One myelinated motor neuron originates from the ventral horn. This is the ventral horn. From the ventral horn all the way to your, let's say, skeletal muscle. And remember, skeletal muscle, you have the acetylcholine receptor for releasing from this motor neuron that will bind to the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor on the skeletal muscle. So this is the very simple somatic motor system. Somatic motor system. For the autonomic motor system, it is a little bit more complicated because autonomic motor system, you have two motor neurons instead of just one. The preganglionic neuron originate in the preganglionic neuron originated in the again ventral horn of your spinal cord. Okay, and then the postganglionic neuron. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, this preganglionic neuron is myelinated. It is myelinated, and then the nerve terminal, the axon terminal, is the autonomic ganglion. Autonomic ganglion. Okay. And then at the autonomic ganglion, you have the cell body of the postganglionic neuron. So the axon terminal of the preganglionic neuron will form the synapse with the cell body of the postganglionic neuron at the autonomic ganglion. And the postganglionic neuron is unmyelinated. And then the the postganglionic neuron will form synapse with the effector. The effector is the smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, or gland. Only these three. So autonomic nervous system controls smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and glands. Okay. Let's take a look. This picture summarizes what we just talked about. It's different types of the connection. The top panel here, you see that it is the sympathetic preganglionic neuron. That means it is a sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic preganglionic neuron releases acetylcholine in the sympathetic trunk ganglion. They call it autonomic ganglion. It should be called sympathetic trunk ganglion. Okay, and as you can see that the preganglionic neuron, it is myelinated. And then the postganglionic neuron is unmyelinated. It starts from the sympathetic trunk ganglion. Let me write here. From the sympathetic trunk ganglion, the cell body originates from the sympathetic trunk ganglion, and then it will innervate the effector. As we talk about effector, there are glands, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. And the postsynaptic, the postganglionic cell, the sympathetic postganglionic cell, uses norepinephrine as the neurotransmitter, okay? Not a hormone. It's a neurotransmitter to control the effectors. Second type, again, it is the sympathetic preganglionic neuron, and it is myelinated, okay? Instead of innervating the sympathetic trunk ganglion, it innervates adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla is the inner part of your adrenal glands, okay? Okay, you have on the surface, you have the adrenal cortex. The inner part, inside the adrenal gland, you have the adrenal medulla. So the sympathetic preganglionic neuron innervate the adrenal medulla again. It releases acetylcholine to the, we call it chromaffin cell. Chromaffin cell is something that you don't need to know. Okay, you don't need to know. Let me erase it. You don't need to know too much details. Okay, chromaffin cell. If we take anatomy, then you need to know this. But since you are not taking anatomy, forget about this. So Sympathetic preganglionic neuron will release acetylcholine to the adrenal medulla, so that adrenal medulla will release the hormone epinephrine and norepinephrine to the blood vessels, okay? So that the blood vessels will carry this hormone to their effector or target. The third type, it is parasympathetic. Finally, we have parasympathetic. Parasympathetic preganglionic neuron, it is also myelinated. So theoretically, it is also coming from the ventral horn, but it is a little bit higher. It is kind of higher from the, I'll say more dorsal, more dorsal part of the ventral horn. So it is also myelinated. You also have the autonomic ganglion here. And then it also releases acetylcholine in this ganglion. And then you have the parasympathetic postganglionic neuron. It is also unmyelinated. But the differences is that this one releases acetylcholine instead of norepinephrine. That's the only differences. Again, the same effector. Glands, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. How come the parasympathetic postganglionic neuron innervate the same effector as the sympathetic postganglionic neuron? The reason is that the sympathetic nervous system, they accelerate or overclock your body. The parasympathetic nervous system, they restore or make your body at rest. In this case, what happened in this case? That's why they need to innervate the same structure so that one excite, one restore, okay? This one basically is something that I remember I briefly mentioned that the function of sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. I give you an analogy. If you're being chased by a lion, okay, we all see that you're being chased by the lion, then we feel sympathy on you because your sympathetic nervous system is triggered. So when you're being chased by the lion, your sympathetic nervous system is triggered because we feel sympathy to see that, okay? Then you have two choices. You can stay there and choose to fight with the lion. If you are able to beat the lion, then you are no longer in danger. If you decide not to fight against the lion, you decide to run away, then it is the flight, okay? It is flight or fleeing, okay? Then you run away, then you also need your sympathetic nervous system because your sympathetic nervous system will overclock your body, increasing heart rate, increasing breathing rate, so that it will make your skeletal muscle stronger, so that you have a stronger contraction force. Then hopefully you can outrun the lion. So you either overclock yourself to beat the lion, or you outrun the lion. In either case, you will make your situation become safe. Okay. And then after you beat the lion or you outrun the lion, guess what? You are relaxed as if you are in the paradise. Because you are in the paradise, you trigger your parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is for resting and digestion. Why do we rest after the sympathetic nervous system? Of course, as I mentioned, sympathetic nervous system is like overclocking your body. When you overclock your body, you increase your heart rate, you increase your breathing rate. When you are doing this, you use up a lot of nutrient in your body. You use up lots of glucose in your body. That's why you need to rest. you burn a lot of ATP, you burn a lot of calorie. You need to rest. When you rest, you feel hungry because, as I said, you already use up a lot of reserve in your body. That's why it is the best time for you to eat. When you eat, you must be relaxing. Otherwise, if you're nervous, let's say if you are studying for your final exam, you're nervous, and then you eat, then all the blood will go to your brain, go to your muscle, then you have less blood going into your GI tract, then it's not good for your digestion. So that's why when your parasympathetic nervous system is triggered, you're resting, and you want to restore the nutrient that you spend when you're overclocking with your sympathetic nervous system. Then you need to eat. That's why it will improve your digestion. The table here is basically what we just covered. You can read about this, but I can tell you it's the same thing that we talked about in the last few slides. Again, you don't need to know. Good news, you are happy. Again, you don't need to know this is. Again, you don't need to know this is also anatomy. It talks about the cranial nerve. No, 4 cranial nerve for the parasympathetic nervous system. Again, you don't need to know this slide. You don't need to know this slide. You don't need to know this slide. Solar plexus. You don't need this slide. You don't need to know this slide. You don't need to know this. Majority of it you don't need to know. All right, now you need to know this slide because this is something that we covered previously. So autonomic neuron, they are either cholinergic or adrenergic. Cholinergic meaning that they secrete acetylcholine as neurotransmitter. Adrenergic meaning that they secrete norepinephrine. Okay, let's test your memory. Okay, for the preganglionic neuron, both sympathetic and parasympathetic preganglionic neuron, they releases acetylcholine. The sympathetic postganglionic neuron, that innervate your cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, and glands. The postganglionic, sympathetic postganglionic neuron, they secrete norepinephrine. NE, the symbol is NE, 2 letters. Or if you're British, you can call it noradrenaline, okay? But for your parasympathetic postganglionic neuron, it releases acetylcholine as well, okay? The parasympathetic postganglionic neuron releases acetylcholine to the effector, namely your heart, your GI, your smooth muscle, and also your glands. So I hope you remember the 2 types of acetylcholine receptor. You have the nicotinic, you have the muscarinic. Muscarinic you can mostly find from your smooth muscle and glands. nicotinic is mostly skeletal muscle. Or muscarinic, also you can find from your heart, cardiac muscle as well. Okay, this line I didn't grade out, but guess what? You don't need to know. Okay, this line is very similar to the one that we already talked about, but this one is more confusing, in my opinion. Okay, physiology. You need to know the symptoms here, not the symptom, the response. I call it symptoms. Okay, you need to know the symptom or response here. So, okay, how come the clock looks like this? So, you will see that, okay, the sympathetic nervous system, it has the response pupil dilation, distal vision, and ejaculation. Parasympathetic nervous system is basically the opposite: pupil restriction, proximal vision, and erection. Okay. Now, let's take a look. For pupil dilation, I have a very good example to tell you. How many of you have watched the TV cop show in the 70s and 80s? Okay, if you watch those TV cop show in the 70s and 80s, you'll see this all the time. The cop arrested a suspect, and then he takes the suspect to the police station to interrogate him. He'll take him into a dark room. The police sit on the one side of the desk, and then there's a desk lamp, shining light on the report that he's writing. While he's writing this, he keep asking the suspect question, which is he is sitting opposite side of the desk, and then suddenly, guess what? Let me see. I have this. I can use this to show you. So you see that, okay, this is like my desk light. My desk light is shining. Suddenly, the cop will suddenly turn his desk light to the suspect and then ask him, "Did you kill your wife? Did you kill your wife?" When he do this, the light is shining at the suspect, and guess what? He'll lean forward and ask him, "Did you kill your wife?" Okay, he'll do something like this. "Did you kill your wife?" Staring at him. So why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Why? How come the cop do this? The cop does this because when the cop shine the light at the suspect, okay, the suspect was, oh, is this so bright? So what will happen? Pupillary light reflex, meaning that when the light is shining at the eyes, the pupil will actually constrict under the light. But he is asking you, did you kill your wife? And if you lie, then your sympathetic nervous system will trigger. So under the strong light, your pupil will actually dilate, okay, which is totally opposite of the normal pupillary light reflex. And the reason why he leaned forward, because he wants to see your pupil clearly. Under the light, if your pupil dilate or not, when you answer his question, "Did you kill your wife?" You look at this. So he wants to see if your pupil dilate or not. If he sees that when you answer his question, no matter it is yes or no, And if he sees that your pupil dilate under the strong light, that means you're lying to him, then that means the cop has more work to do. He has to dig deeper to your story. He has to find out more evidence, or find out more suspect or witness, to either support or disprove your story. So in other words, if you are being arrested by the cop, okay, if you are so unfortunate to be arrested by the cop, and if the cop asks you a question, you know what to do. You basically close your eyes and then answer his question. Yes, this is how you avoid getting caught. You close your eyes and answer his question. Okay. Distal vision. Distal vision, we mentioned about distal vision when we talk about special senses. I said that when you're nervous, you can only see far away, because you want to see the lion far away before the lion comes close to you. If you see the lion close to you, then it is already too late. You are getting killed by the lion. You want to see the danger far away from you, so that you can avoid the danger. That's why sympathetic nervous system will enhance your distal vision. Okay. And in the special senses lecture, I have a very bad influence. I teach you how to cheat. Okay. When you didn't study enough, you're nervous during exam, so what's the best thing to do? Well, when you're nervous, you can only see far away. That's why you should see, you can, you should, take a peek at your neighbor's answer, okay? But now you're taking online exam, you cannot do that. Last but not least, ejaculation and erection. This is oversimplified. I read about the actual research paper describing the actual autonomic nervous response during the male sexual response. It is very complicated. Even your professor does not understand. Even your professor is a neuroscientist. I don't understand. Basically, during erection, you have the interchanging of the activation of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. But we simplify it to say that, okay, during erection, your parasympathetic nervous system activate. The very simple example is that many people know that when guys under stress, or if they're nervous, if they're under stress, it will be very difficult to get their penis up, okay? It will be very difficult to get the erection. And the guys can achieve erection only when the guy is relaxed, but ejaculation is caused by the sympathetic nervous system. That's why ejaculation is, you have a lot of smooth muscle contract to so that the semen can be propelled in a high pressure and high speed. And then, of course, after the triggering of the sympathetic nervous system, then you trigger the parasympathetic nervous system again to rest and restore the energy you use for the ejaculation. That's why some of the guys, they have the so-called lame dick. Okay, what happened? After they ejaculate, what happened? They just fall asleep. They don't care about their woman. They don't even cuddle. They don't cuddle. They just fall asleep. They don't care about it. Of course, some women, they do the same thing. After they reach orgasm, they just fall asleep. Okay, it happened to both gender, not just men. Just to be fair, okay. So this slide include everything we just covered. It gives you even more details. The main point for this slide is that the autonomic nervous system, they also have reflex arc. The autonomic reflex arc consists of the same part. You have the receptor, you have sensory neuron, you have the integrating center, which is your CNS, You have the motor neuron or the output, and then you have effector. The last one is effector. What are the effectors? Do you remember? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hopefully you still remember the 3 effector. Your heart, cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, and glands. These are the 3 effector for the autonomic nervous system. Of course, like other system that we'll cover for the rest of the semester, autonomic nervous system and nervous system in general. I'll say nervous system in general is to maintain homeostasis. Yes, maintain homeostasis, keep you healthy. Last part, basically, it tells you that how your nervous system control other system. How your nervous system control other system to help to maintain homeostasis. This part is very minor. If you have interest, you can read about it. If you don't have interest, okay, you don't need to study about this. So basically, that's it for the autonomic nervous. It's very short, very simple, very easy.